All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unroll the blueprint for effective communication, why it works, why it sometimes breaks down spectacularly, and how you can start building better connections one conversation at a time.
So let's start with the feeling I know you've had. You say something that feels completely crystal clear in your head, right? But the look you get back, it's like your message just, I don't know, crash landed somewhere you didn't intend. It's that universal frustration, and it happens to all of us.
But here's the thing, and this is the good news, communication isn't some random, unpredictable magic. There's actually a structure, a real blueprint behind every single interaction we have. And just understanding that structure, that's the first and most powerful step to mastering it. All right, so let's get into it. You can't understand a building without looking at the bricks and mortar, right? Same idea here. We're going to deconstruct communication into its 9 essential core components. Think about the last text you sent. Maybe it was something super simple like, let's get coffee. Well, even that little message followed this exact 6-step path from your brain all the way to your friends. Let's walk through what that looks like. Okay, so it all kicks off with a source. That's you. You've got an idea, but you can't just beam a thought into someone's head, right? You have to perform what's called encoding. And that's really just a fancy way of saying you turn your thought into a shareable code. Words, emojis, a thumbs up, whatever works. So that code you just created, that is the message. It's the actual stuff you're sending. And that message has to travel through a channel, basically the pathway it takes. Is it a text? A phone call? Are you talking face-to-face? The channel you pick, it's a huge deal. It can totally change how the message gets received. And then, on the other end, you've got the receiver, the person catching your message. Their job is decoding, translating your code back into a thought. And this right here is where things can get so messy. Did they decode your let's get coffee as a casual hangout or a serious we need to talk situation? Now, here's the thing. This whole process doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's always surrounded by 3 other super critical elements. First, there's noise. And I don't just mean a loud coffee shop. It could be the distracting thoughts in your own head. Then you've got feedback. The nod, the confused look, the response that tells you if you're getting through. And finally, there's context. The whole environment, your shared history with the person. It all shades the meaning of every single word. Okay, so we have all the pieces on the board. Now let's see how they actually fit together. Our whole understanding of communication has really evolved over time, and it's given us 3 different models, each one getting a little more complex and a lot more accurate. So the first model, the earliest one, saw communication as just a one-way street. They called it the action model. It's literally like shooting an arrow. A source fires off a message and bam, it hits a receiver. End of story. There's no back and forth, no reply. Think of it like a public announcement, not a conversation. Then things got a little more sophisticated. The model evolved into something more like a game of catch. This is the interaction model, and it added 2 really key things, feedback and context. So now we're taking turns. I throw the ball, the message, to you. You catch it and throw one back. It's a 2-way street, but it's still seen as, one person's turn, then the other person's turn. And that brings us to where we are today, with the transaction model. And honestly, this one is brilliant. It sees communication not as taking turns, but as a constant dance. We are sending and receiving messages all at the same time. Think about it. While I'm talking, I'm also reading your body language. While you're listening, you're giving me feedback with a nod or a frown. We are literally co-creating the meaning together in real time. Okay, so we've got the blueprint. We've got the models. Now it's time to talk about the rules of the game. These are the fundamental properties of communication that are always in play, whether you know it or not. Yep, there are 5 of them. And these aren't just, helpful tips. They are absolute, unbreakable laws that apply to every single interaction you'll ever have, from a high-stakes business deal to just a silent glance across a room. So what are they? What are these 5 unbreakable truths? As we run through them, I want you to think about where you see them pop up in your own life, because just being able to spot them is half the battle. All right, first up, it's inescapable. You literally cannot not communicate. Even saying nothing is saying something, right? Second, it's irreversible. You can't unring a bell. Once you say it, it's out there. Third, it's complicated. There are always a million variables at play. Fourth, it's governed by rules, these unwritten social scripts we all follow. And finally, every single thing you say has 2 layers. There's the content,
the literal words, and the relationship dimension, which is what your message says about your connection with that person. So why does knowing all these rules even matter? Because it's how we get to the end goal, communication competence. And this isn't about being the loudest person in the room. It's about being effective. A truly competent message gets three things right. It's understood the way you meant it achieves what you wanted it to, and it's ethical, meaning it's honest and respectful.
Okay, so the big question is, how do we actually do that? How do we take all this theory and use it? Let's open up the toolkit. Here are 5 core principles that will help you become a much more competent communicator.
First, just be aware. Pay attention to your own communication and the effect it's having. From there, it's about getting good with your messages, both verbal, the words you pick, and nonverbal. The body language that often screams louder than words. Number 4 is a huge one. Listen and respond thoughtfully. So many of us listen just so we can figure out what we're going to say next. The goal is to listen to actually understand. And finally, the master skill. Learn to adapt your message. The best communicators read the room and tweak their approach to really connect.
And look, getting good at this stuff isn't just about having fewer arguments at the dinner table. Like the speechwriter James Hume said, the art of communication is the language of leadership. When you can make yourself understood and really understand others, you can lead, you can influence, you can connect in every single part of your life.
So, I'll leave you with this to think about. Looking at your own daily conversations, which ones are still a one-way street when they really should be a dance? Because that's the whole point, right? Applying this blueprint is how we stop just talking at people and start truly creating meaning with them.